Welcome to the Midnight Entrepreneur. I'm your host, Easton Bennett, alongside my fellow co-host, Tyler Sinden. We are both entrepreneurs who are learning, growing, and building our own businesses, and our goal is to share our experiences and knowledge to help you grow and become a successful entrepreneur. Strap in. Tyler, what is happening, my man?
Not too much, Easton. Have a little bit of a busy day going on today, but we're going through it. How's it going with you?
It is going well. Busy day on this side of the border as well. Kind of locked in a lot of shoot dates for the next couple weeks and a couple meetings today, which were good. But other than that, yeah, just a busy time.
Yeah, you were talking about your meetings today, and I'm pretty satisfied with those meetings because you were telling me about them, and it's not really your fault. So it's good news on your end, but at the same time, it's shitty news. But maybe we'll get into that in future episodes.
Yeah, we'll touch on a future episode. Something dealing with clients, probably an episode in that realm. But yeah, I mean, it's always interesting going into meetings, and obviously it depends on what meetings, but you can misconstrue so much over the internet or emails or whatever, but face to face is a way to do it. I'm starting to learn.
Yeah, it's really tough when you get emails and then like they use a period and it's not an exclamation point. It's like, oh fuck, they're mad at me. And
exactly.
My old roommate was like that. He would always use periods, and it's like, why are you mad at me, bro?
Oh yeah, and it's amazing that like it must be the world we live in now, but people, they'll read a text message or something and just automatically assume they're like, oh, this person's mad because they said it this way, and it's like, no, they said okay on their phone, texted it quick, put it in their pocket, and didn't think twice about it. But yeah, I mean, true. Maybe that's an episode we can do is communication, something about communication, like communicating with clients, the best ways to do that, and the best ways to go about that. It's actually not a horrible topic. I
actually like that, but sounds good. I was just having a conversation, and the topic of be real was coming up, and I asked you if you had Be Real. You said you did. I was wondering your experience with that, because I know social media is a huge aspect with businesses and just trying to grow your personal brand, whatever it is, your brand, your business, your company. And I was just wondering about Be Real. How's it going? Like, what do you see with it?
Yeah. So for the people listening that don't know what Be Real is a new social media app that pretty much every single day you get one notification that says you have 2 minutes to post your Be Real, which is pretty much you take a picture of your front-facing camera and your back-facing camera, wherever you're at, whatever you're doing at that moment in time. So a lot of it right now is strictly friends that I'm seeing. I haven't seen any businesses on there, which is an interesting aspect. But, right now it's an app for me to kind of just, it's one of those easy social media apps that you don't really have to check you don't have to check any of them, but you check it once a day, react to a couple other people's pictures, and then put it away till the next day. So it's super interesting. That's
actually interesting, because I didn't really know the premise of it, where it gives you the notification. It's like, you got to take a picture right now. It's like, oh shit, there's the pressure.
I saw, what about you can post late, like it says you have 2 minutes, but if you post like an hour after that, it says Easton Bennett posted 13 hours late or whatever.
Get called out.
Yeah, so people know if you're posting it at the wrong time. So most of my posts are pretty much sitting at the computer, and it's like editing screen, my face, and it's just over and over. But the occasional time I'm outside of the office, it's interesting.
That's like, you get the 2 minute warning. You're like, oh shit, let's do something interesting real quick and try and make it look like I'm doing something, not just sitting on the couch every day.
And I'm starting to see some content creators. There was one guy where every single day he would post the same exact thing. Now, granted, he was posting them late, but it would be a picture, the front-facing camera, the one that's not taking a picture of yourself, so maybe the back-facing camera, would be a picture of 2 pairs of socks just sitting on the floor, like sitting upright, and then the other one would be a picture of himself. And every single day is the same thing. The socks were in the same spot, 2 white socks sitting on the floor, and then you take a picture of himself. I'm like, this guy's almost creating a movement around a picture of socks.
Yeah.
But
consistency and branding.
I guess, something like that.
Well, that seems interesting, because it doesn't seem like that big of a time suck, because it just seems like you got this 2 minute warning, go on and do your thing. And then maybe like after that, you go for a little bit of a scroll, see what your friends are. I don't know if it's varied, like everyone gets different times throughout the day. I feel like it probably is. And then it's just like quickly go through, and it's not as big of a time suck. It's not like their goal is to be like, stay on our platform as long as possible.
Yeah, I think I'm starting to realize that I think they send like there's different blocks of time. So like part of the users everyone gets the same time here. Then part of the users gets this time. And then part of the users gets the other time. But
Hmm.
I could be way wrong. It could be everyone gets the same time and then people are posting late, but you get notifications when your friends post so you can go and look and see what they're posting. But yeah, it's not like the traditional social media that's a huge time suck.
Yeah, like Facebook, TikTok, Instagram. I feel like their main goal and only goal is to keep you on their platform as long as possible. And as you know, that's not good for business. Like you're just wasting away time, and time management's huge for business, you know?
Yeah, well, especially this week's episode, we haven't even mentioned it yet, but we're going to be
Oh, that's
talking
true.
about time management. So this is kind of why we brought this up, is because most social media platforms are a time suck unless you're using them in the right way, I guess you could say, where you're posting your own content or researching. But how many people are actually doing that?
Yeah, yeah, it's probably not a lot. And the 3 hours that you're spending on there researching,
Yeah.
I feel like, yeah,
I'm
there's
coming up
a
with
lot of,
TikTok ideas.
yeah, right. I just came up with 5 different ideas.
Yeah, I'll never film them, but I did some research.
Yeah, it's like
I saw
I'll get to that one day.
I saw a TikTok that said Instagram within the next year is going to come out with their own feature, just like Be Reals, called Moment or something like that. And you have to take a picture of the moment in time. So I'm interested to see if that's actually going to happen. It would be right up Instagram's alley where they copy features. But I'm
Hmm.
interested to see how that goes.
Yeah,
Do you think, do you think they should?
I feel like they might. They pretty much copy every other platform. Like when you get to such a big status, like it's tough to innovate. And then you just see all these little guys start innovating. That's pretty much what Be Real was, Clubhouse, TikTok, all these little guys. They just came out of nowhere and they blew up. And I think they tried to mimic it on Facebook with Clubhouse. And I know Twitter tried to mimic it.
Twitter had part of it, yeah.
Yeah. So it's just a lot of these big guys, they don't do as much of the innovating. They just kind of copy, and they already have all the users there. So it's just trying to keep all those users there.
Don't change it if it ain't broken. That's the motto, right?
True, but they're losing users. Why are they changing it?
It's true. So we're going to talk about the importance of time management this week. And time management in business, that's one of the things when you start off, it's really difficult to, manage your time. Where are you going to allocate your hours in the day to do things? Have you always been good with time management? Are you good with time management? What is your status, or what are your thoughts on time management in general?
My current status. Never heard that before. My
Social
current
media's
rating
taken over.
Yeah, my current rating for time management is no. I actually did take what was it? It was like they interview you. You get a bunch of these different questions out of a book I read, and then it kind of grades you on all these different scales like communication, time management, etc., to see where
Okay.
you're at. And time management, I did fairly well. It wasn't amazing, but it wasn't poor, and it wasn't really average. I was above average. So I think I'm pretty decent with time management, and I'm good at getting stuff done. And if I have to get something done, I'm usually pretty good at getting it done. So I feel like I'm pretty decent at time management.
So when people say time management to you, what does that even entail? Is that pretty much you blocking out your day, or what does that look like?
Not really. To me, it's more so getting stuff done. It's if you have tasks and they got to get done, it's getting them done. It's not really, what'd you say? I forget what you said.
Like how do you look at that? So like time management, when I think about if someone says time management, I look at it as, okay, where am I best allocating my hours in the day? Whereas I always base it on which tasks are getting me further into, making my business good, and which tasks might I think are like, oh, I'm doing something today, but it's really just not doing anything to put me the next step ahead.
Yeah, your priorities. And I think that goes into the 80-20 principle, the Pareto principle, like 80% of your actions, 80% of
20%,
your,
yeah.
yeah, delivers all those results. So yeah, I guess prioritizing what your highest priority tasks are and getting those stuffs done and moving the ball the most is a good way to look at it as well.
So when you're deciding which of these tasks, which priorities are most important? Do you write these down somewhere, or how do you even make that decision for the people wondering? Because time management is a big thing. If you're not good at it, you're kind of screwed. Not screwed, but it's going to make your life a lot more difficult.
Yeah, that's true. I think it's just finding out where you want to go and then deciding those biggest tasks that need to get done in order to get you there. And a lot of the time, I'll get the smallest task done as quickly as possible. Say if there's like I wouldn't say I prioritize those ones, but if something that pops up, it says takes 30 seconds, 2 minutes, whatever, I get that done right away, just so I don't have those small tasks building up and then it kind of overwhelms you where you think, oh my God, I got like 30 other tasks that I got to do, but those tasks are actually like 20-second tasks or 2-minute tasks, and it just looks a lot more overwhelming than it actually is. So it's trying to find where you're going and those biggest tasks that's going to get you there.
So I've never read the book. It's called Make Your Bed, I think.
Mm-hmm.
But I assume I judge, this is the one book I judge based on the cover of that. I don't even need to read the book because I already know what it's going to talk about. And I think the premise of it is and have you read this book or no? Okay. So I think the premise of it, and I could be way off, is that when you make your bed in the morning, it builds momentum going into the rest of your day.
Mm-hmm.
Are you a big proponent? Is that why you do the smaller tasks first? So you can it's like a domino effect that when you do the smaller 30-second tasks, it gets you going to the hour-long task?
Yeah, I wouldn't say I always do the small tasks first. It's just if they pop up. But sometimes if I say I'm just not feeling it right now, getting those small tasks like going, like you got say like a 2-minute task or a 5-minute task here, getting those small tasks done gets the ball rolling, and then your list doesn't look as big or as long. So I think it's a good way to get the ball rolling for sure.
I'm a huge proponent, and I'll give this advice to anyone listening, is that I personally, you can put your tasks down, your to-do list, whatever, on a software, on your notes in your phone, or a piece of paper or something on your fridge, but write down absolutely everything. And this has been a huge, I wouldn't say I'm a master of time management, but this has helped me a ton in getting things done, is that if you write down even the stupidest little tasks, like eat breakfast, I write down eat breakfast on my to-do list because I know I'm going to do it. I'm going to hammer a yogurt or an apple or something, but just the feeling of, okay, I got that one thing done gets you going to the next thing. And that's the one strategy of time management that I could advise someone else to do, is that I really believe in that domino effect where it's like, okay, if I do one, I can do 30.
Yeah, so a few things on that. I just want to say, like, if you have that to-do list and when you check off like one of those things, you get hit with like melatonin, or not melatonin,
Serotonin.
serotonin. Yeah, you get like that feeling in you
Melatonin
where
starts making you sleep.
right. Oh shit, I'm tired now.
God, that task was exhausting.
Yeah, so you get hit with that, and then it makes you feel good. So you get like an uplifting feeling within yourself. So, like you said, doing that, but you hear a lot of the times schedule your day out the day before. Do you do that yourself?
Yeah, I'm a big time blocker. And I
Okay.
think there's so many strategies for time management, and I've tried a bunch of them, which we'll touch on a couple of them, but time blocking. So pretty much my calendar, my Google Calendar, which I use, and if you're not using Google Calendar, I don't know, it's the simplest calendar you can use. So I don't know why you wouldn't use it, but pretty much everything on my calendar, if it's not on there, I'm not going to do it. I schedule things like eat dinner from 6 to 7:30. Obviously, it doesn't always go as planned, but I try to have every 15 to 30 minutes on my calendar booked out so I know exactly how my day is going to go. It doesn't always happen to be that way, but I've found that time blocking everything really makes me the most efficient possible. But I've also seen strategies where I think it has a name, but it pretty much starts your day with a brain dump. So there's like a left column where you write down everything. And then at the top, you have like your big three, the 3 tasks that you need to get done that day. And then on the right side is a bunch of smaller tasks. So I've seen that before where it's like, hey, I got 12 hours to do these 3 tasks. However I do them, I have to do them. Have you tried either of those methods, the time blocking or the big 3 one?
I've done something similar with the power list. Andy Frisella preaches that, and I think he came up with it, and that's really helped me out a lot because it's like you can't end your day, or once your day stops or like you go to sleep, and if you didn't finish the list, you write an L. And it's like a lot of the times I'm just trying not to get an L on the day because it's like, fuck, that sucks. So
explain the power list for the people that don't know, because I'm not even super familiar with it either.
Very similar to what you're saying with your big 3, but it's big 5, and there's no little brain dump on the other side. And basically, if you get your big 5 done, you're free to do whatever you want. So it's like, these are the 5 most important tasks that you need to get done. Say your goal is to, I don't know, just whatever it is, you get those 5 tasks that's going to get you closer there. And once you get those 5 tasks done, you're free to do whatever you want. So say you finish at noon, you basically accomplish the day. So you're free to do whatever you want for the rest of the day. You can go and eat dinner.
Yeah,
and eat lunch.
That's a good strategy to determine whether the day was successful or not.
Yeah. Yeah. And then you see those days build up, and you see just all those receipts that you've put in. And over time, it's going to build up, and you're going to see that. And it's just a good way to see all your wins, you know?
I did something similar for, I think it was somewhere between 45 and 60 days. I can't remember where I failed the challenge, but Peter McKinnon, videographer, made a video describing how he had a little black notebook he would carry around, and every single day he would write the 3 things. And if he didn't accomplish those 3 things, so I assume it's exactly the same, but you'd have to cross off every single one. And if you lost a day, you'd have to restart at the beginning, and you'd see how high you could get. And I found that it worked for the first little bit until my body and brain got used to it. So then the tasks I started writing down would be, I don't know if they were a little bit easier, if I was trying to trick myself into not doing as much work that day, or I would write down 3, but if I finished 2 of them, I'd write down a different task that I did and check that one off. So it's like, oh, well, I did this today. So yeah, so that didn't really work for me as much as because I knew I could cheat myself, which is not a good habit to have. But I just found that if my day is strictly linked to 3 tasks, and if I don't get a task, it makes me feel so shitty. But I mean, that's what's cool about it, is there's so many different ways to manage your time, and you kind of just have to try them all until you find one that you like.
Yeah, I agree. I had something I was going to ask you about this, but I forget what it was.
It'll come back to you. You'll strike gold eventually.
Hopefully.
We can talk about some software. I mean, I have a few softwares that I've tried and a few softwares that I've used. Are you a big software guy, or are you kind of like pen and paper?
I'm fairly old school. Like at work, I use Asana, and that's a good project management tool to, keep everything in there, all your tasks, what you got to get done, timelines, everything, etc.
Everyone uses that, and I've never bit the bullet, but I feel like it's more for like teams, where I don't work with a big team. So like,
not necessarily.
Can you do it like it's just a solo, you think?
Oh, for sure. I think it would just be replacing your pen and paper or whiteboard. I'm very similar to that. I also use Notion a little bit.
And I've heard of that too. Okay.
Yeah, I think I mentioned that to you. But at the same time, I'm like, what? I have it in like 3 different spots. I got whiteboard, pen and paper, Notion. So I got it everywhere. And like the whiteboard, main thing with that is to see it every day. And like, it's right next to my bed. Whenever I wake up, whenever I don't know what I'm doing, I can just quickly look at my whiteboard. I know exactly what I need to get done. So it's just really easy to, just look at it and see what I got to do.
I found that whiteboards, so I tried to use a whiteboard for the longest time. And I've always had this goal of having an office space with a massive whiteboard, like the size of a wall. But, I don't have that right now. But I have a whiteboard you can see it on frame here. But I tried to use that whiteboard, and I just found that it never worked for me. And the only thing that would work when using this whiteboard is putting the long-term goals up there. So like, if you have a goal, make $1 million a year, you write that on the board. I found visualizing that and seeing that every day was better than, finish so-and-so's video edit. Whereas erasing and scratching off, like you can't really cross off a whiteboard checklist because you just have to erase it to put something else on there. So I found for me that putting the biggest tasks on there, your 1-year goal or your 5-year goal or your big business goal or something like that, helps a ton. So do you put like tasks on your whiteboard then?
Yeah, I do a lot on my whiteboard. I do a little bit too much, but it gets a little cluttered, but it works for me. And that's the thing. Like, we're all different, and what works for one person might not work for the other, and vice versa. So for me, I do a lot of different stuff. I do my daily, or I'll, so I started doing power list. I do
Hmm.
the weekly, what I got to do this week. I have my yearly goals. I have my monthly goal. And then I also, this isn't really uh, time efficient, but I write out a calendar every month, and I just like write it out. And then what I'll do with my power list is I'll put the W or L there. So it's like good to visualize and see how I'm doing on a month scale.
Do
So
you use like maybe this is in Asana or Notion? Do you use like a calendar that would be similar to Google Calendar?
I don't, I don't know. I've just, I don't know. I've just never used it. Like the calendar on my whiteboard, I started adding like days, like
Okay.
for my side hustle. I'll be like, I got this day, I got to film, that day I got to film. So it's
Mhm.
just like for me to remember. But I don't know. I feel like I'm fairly decent, but like at the same time, in the back of my head, I'm always like thinking like, did I forget something? So that's why I
Yeah.
like to write it out. So just so I know for sure,
One
like when.
one strategy that I would recommend that everyone listening try, and it might not be for you, is that if you use Google Calendar, which I do, so we already talked about the time blocking, how each day I have like, okay, 8 to 8:15, I have to do my QuickBooks miles of the week that I drove last week. And then 9 to 10, I have to edit this video, 10 to 10:30 meeting. So that time blocking is set out. But in Google Calendar, you can do tasks and reminders. So one thing that I know I have to do every day is I have to post for our business podcast that my company runs. So every single day we have to post a clip from that podcast. So in my Google Calendar, I will have a task that repeats every single day that says post clip for my business podcast. And if I don't do that, I can't click check is done. So then it moves to the next day. So if you don't do these tasks, it carries over and it carries over and it keeps carrying over where it shows 15 reminders and it gets overwhelming. So I've learned that having these tasks and reminders plugged into certain days on my calendar, I can look at that at the day and be like, okay, what do I have to do? It might not be big tasks, but that's how I keep track of all the little ones.
And that's all in Google Calendar.
Yep. So like Wednesday, I have to post a promo for the new podcast.
Mm-hmm.
Monday morning, post the Midnight Entrepreneur episode. You know what I mean? So it's all
Mm-hmm.
these things that are reoccurring every single Monday morning from 8 to 8:15. Like I said, I have to go back and track all my miles that I drove last week for tax purposes. So then if I use this calendar to do repeating tasks, and it's more for the repeating ones, then I think it keeps me on track a little bit more and not forgetting things.
I feel like the way you use Google Calendar, I don't think you would necessarily need Asana then. Because like it seems like you do a lot of the stuff that Asana would do, and you have it in a calendar view. So I feel
Mhm.
like you use Google Calendar to a good potential.
And I think that's a good transition into, I think I'm a pretty visual learner when it comes, or not visual learner, but I like to see things instead of, text. So
Hmm.
Google Calendar, you can pull it up and it shows you different colors. Like I have probably 10 different colors. Like black is for meetings, yellow is for personal shoots, green is for client shoots, client edits, personal edits. So visually seeing that on my computer screen, as well as the app that I really like and that we do all this planning for the podcast on, Milanote. So there you can add pictures and videos and you can add music in there and you can kind of see things laid out. So that's one of the softwares that I've really enjoyed using. That's kind of the holy grail of my business, is all in Milanote, and everything on there from this podcast to the business podcast to TikToks to Instagrams to posting social media content, that all lives on my Milanote account.
Do you pay for Milanote, or is that a free subscription?
Yep. So there's a free subscription where you get a certain amount of boards, they're called. But I think I pay 10, 11, $12 somewhere in there per month to use it. So I mean, it's not a huge fee, $140 a year at the most. But it really keeps me in check with, okay, here's if you ever get lost in your business, okay, just go to Milanote and look, this is where you need to be.
Yeah, for sure. And I remembered my question. So I barely use Google Calendar, but I actually just started using it for my runs because my cousin's helping me schedule my runs to, tell me workouts to do.
Mhm.
But I don't actually use Google Calendar. Maybe I'll start using it and helping schedule the day out. But my question, you schedule your whole day out. Like what happens if you run out of time or like you're overlapping or, your schedule gets thrown out? Like what happens then?
Well, it depends. So certain things that I can just cross out, like if I schedule on there 12 to 12:30 lunch. And there's sometimes when I leave breaks like blocks, so there'll be a 15-minute empty block to extend one task or add a new task. But a lot of the times I'll have, let's say it's 9 to 10, I have to edit a video for Tyler Sinden. If I'm at 10 o'clock and the video's not finished, that's fine. I'll move on to the next task, but then I'll add the same task the next day. Okay, I need to edit for Tyler Sinden. Now, a lot of people would rather say, no, I'd rather get this finished and then push their day back. I've done that a couple times before, but it really depends on the task that's being moved. Is it important? Is it not important? I just like to have a visual idea of, okay, here's generally what's going to go on for the day.
Touched on one thing that I think gets overlooked a lot and I think helps significantly for productivity. And productivity is good for time management. And that's having breaks. And I don't think people realize how important breaks are because sure you can get into like a flow where you're just constantly going and like you just I feel like you might get into like a little editing binge where you're just like 4 hours later, all of a sudden, where like a break might not be good because you're in that flow state. But like if you're hitting a wall, like breaks are great to just take and, get up, walk around, get some fresh air maybe, and, just release your mind a little bit.
I totally agree. There's actually sometimes, not all the times, but there's a lot of times where maybe I'll start with this story actually. So when I was up playing hockey in Canada, we went to this speaker. He came to a local church and talked to us about, it wasn't specifically business, but it was kind of time management and how the brain works. And the one thing he said is that your mind is the most creative and firing early in the day. So a lot of times when I'm blocking out my day, I always put the things that are creative that I need to have my brain firing on 10 cylinders in the morning. So if I have to edit a video, it'll be before noon. If I have to write scripts, it'll be before noon. And then he says, once you get past into that afternoon, that's when you need to do your mindless tasks. So if I have to clean my office, if I have to unload my van, if I have to, do those things that don't really require a ton of brain power and more just energy, that's when you put them on the back end. So with that being said, the breaks, sometimes I take breaks from 2 to 2:15, I'll take a super quick power nap, which is like people say you shouldn't nap in the middle of the business day, but trust me, that 15-minute break is unbelievable.
It's huge.
You wake up and you're fired up and you're ready to go.
Yeah, definitely. I agree with that. I try to avoid it because I know it affects my sleep at night, and if I affect my sleep at night, it's just a snowball effect to me being tired the next day. So I try it, and then the next day I'm napping, and it's just a bad snowball effect. So if I do nap, I try to make sure like it's earlier in the day and it's like not long. Like my body won't even let me nap for like over an hour. So like those power naps are actually like huge because like I'll wake up and it's like I'm ready to conquer the world,
There's another thing that I think about a lot, and maybe this is because I work in a home studio, but people shouldn't be inclined to think the day ends at 5 o'clock, the work day, the business day. And that's maybe the whole premise of the podcast, the Midnight Entrepreneur. You can work past 5 o'clock. So a lot of times I'll take a 15 to 20 minute nap at 2 o'clock and it's like, oh, you're ruining some of your business day. But it really propels you to work from 5 to, 9 p.m. at night or from 7 to 10 at night. It gives you those extra couple hours because a lot of times people go to their 9 to 5 jobs. They'll go 9 to 5. Their brain shuts off for the day. But when you're running a business, you kind of have to put in those extra hours, and whatever gets you through that 16-hour day. And if you can work 10 to 12 of them, that's really what's going to set you apart from just going, okay, I worked 8 hours. I didn't get a ton done, but it's 5 o'clock. So now I just need to do whatever.
Yeah, I feel like that's very similar to myself and a lot of people that are potentially starting out or wanting to start out. You might be working a day job and
Mhm.
you're starting your other business. You have to work outside those hours. You know, it's some people have to go to in an office. I'm fortunate enough that I can work from home, but some people have to go into the office and then that limits them. They might not be able to work on their side hustle, work on their business that they're trying to start on the side. Whereas for me, I have that opportunity.
And you have a cool perspective on it compared to me, since the business I run I do full time, while you are also building a business on the side of having a full-time job. So it's kind of a unique perspective from you of working outside of that normal 9 to 5. Maybe touch
Yeah,
on that a little bit. How is it working?
I feel like I don't have a life, and I'm fine with that. Like honestly,
Yeah.
like some people might be like, that sucks. Honestly, I
Mhm.
like it because like I don't. It doesn't really feel like I work, but at the same time, like a lot of people live for the weekends, and whereas for me, the weekends blend with the weekdays, so it's there isn't really a weekend for me, so I don't see that difference for me.
Mhm.
Like when Monday comes around and people are like, Mondays, am I right? And I'm like, it's just
I
another
just work
day.
Saturday and Sunday. Yeah. So,
Right? It's just another day.
and it's honestly, for the people that are in business right now, that's a mindset you have to have. Like if you want to live for the weekends, you want a 9 to 5, and you live for Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and I get to go to the bar Friday, Saturday. Awesome. More power to you. We don't care. That's fine. But living your life to just enjoy the weekends is so crazy to me. Whereas I'd rather work, 80 hours a week on the weekends and at night to eventually have something where it's okay, I can take this weekend off if I want.
We're a little shy on quotes this episode, so it's like that quote that
Yeah,
goes,
throw one in there.
I'd rather work 100 hours for myself than 40 hours for someone else."
Oh, 100%. And that's where it almost goes back to episode 1 when we talked about doing something that you want to be in the dirt and doing every single day. Because if you're doing something where you're
Yeah.
like, I only want to work on it 4 hours a day, I
Yeah.
want to build a business 12 hours a day, but it's just, it has to be something that you actually are striving to do.
Mhm. Yeah.
Other than that, I mean, there are a couple of softwares I use. I've tried Later before to schedule some posts. I'm not a huge proponent of that. I'd rather just, I mean, this software is so clunky that it's like, is this really saving me time? Whereas it's okay, I can schedule things in like Meta Business Suite is a fantastic resource for saving yourself time. It only allows you to schedule to Instagram and Facebook, but the other social media platforms like Twitter, you can throw it in the drafts. TikTok, you can throw it in the drafts. The only really tough one is that LinkedIn. I don't think they have drafts, so you have to post that every day. But if I was to try to be saving time and work on the time management for posting content for my company, it would be to schedule everything on the Meta Business Suite for Instagram and Facebook, throw the posts in the Twitter drafts and in the TikTok drafts, and then just copy and paste those on LinkedIn when you're ready to post those. But a lot of those scheduling softwares I find are a little bit gimmicky. Have you had any experience working with them?
Yeah. You mentioned TikTok drafts or scheduling. Can you schedule on TikTok? I didn't think you could.
You can't, not natively in the app, but like Later, the platform I'm
Oh.
talking about, which hopefully they don't want to sponsor this podcast one day. I mean, I still have a subscription to them. I just don't use them as much as I should. I'm probably not getting my money's worth.
Uh-huh.
But the nice part about Later is if you can have up to like 5 accounts on there if you pay for
Okay.
it. So if you have one company, one page, one business you're scheduling for, just do it manually. Obviously, if you have 5 or 6, one of these softwares might help. But even I think I have 5 business pages or 5 pages, and I don't use it to the fullest extent. But TikTok, no, you can't schedule natively. You can on like Later, which pretty much it doesn't even post it for you. It just gives you a reminder, hey, post on TikTok, and then it copy and paste it over for you. So take
Huh.
that with a grain of salt.
Okay. Yeah. So I currently use HubSpot and
Okay.
also Meta Business Suite.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, Meta Business Suite's going to be better because that's theirs. That's their platform.
And it's native.
Exactly. HubSpot's all right. It gets the job done. Not much more you can really ask with that. I think the only issue is when you start using multiple accounts, it might get some confusion, say with a client, because they might post natively or through, say, Meta Business Suite. So it might get a little bit of overlap. So that's the only thing. You might have to have a little bit more communication to make sure that there's no overlap within posting. But HubSpot gets the job done. Not as good as Meta Business Suite, but that's my experience.
In all of this advice we're giving you guys is you have to try it out on your own. Here's another quote for us. I can only lead you to the water. I can't make you drink it. So we're giving you these resources and things that we've used in the past and things that we like, but you have to try them out for yourself and see if you actually like them.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times some of them suck, but...
Yeah, that's true. Like, I'm not saying HubSpot sucks by any means. Like, they're a huge platform, huge CRM, and there's so much stuff that you can do on it. Social media is just one small aspect of what HubSpot does, and it gets the job done, and there's not really much more you can ask for that. So
that's actually one thing that we didn't really touch on, but if there's anyone listening to this that's a little bit more advanced in their business and they're past the startup phase, get a trustworthy CRM, which is a client relationship management tool. So the one I use specifically is tailored towards photographers and videographers. It's called Studio Ninja. And that pretty much allows you to create workflows for working with your clients. You have invoices natively on there. You can put contracts on there. Having a software like that is pretty beneficial. There's a ton of them out there. I mean, Honeybook is one of them for videographers. That's more wedding videographers. Studio Ninja I use. I'm not familiar with a ton that are outside of that world, but dude, CRM softwares are clutch.
Yeah, I think Salesforce is another one. I'm not sure, but yeah, I've pretty much just used HubSpot. Co-Construct is in the renovation remodeling industry, but that's about all that my knowledge for CRMs. But I think HubSpot's really, really solid for what they have.
That's definitely something to look into. If you're starting a business and you want to do it from the beginning, or if you're advanced and you're looking to free up some more of that time.
I think
what else do you talk about, Tyler?
You mentioned that you knock your task out early in the morning, and I think a lot of people, they're different. That people say that your brain's functioning the best in the morning, knock it out early, get it done, get your swallow the frog. Is that what the quote is? There we go. So. There's another quote. So
we're ripping now.
We're at 3. We got to pump those numbers up. Those numbers are rookie numbers.
Those are rookie numbers. There's another one.
Yeah, there we go. So do you find, like, I know everyone's different, but do you find you're the most productive in the morning?
Yeah, on tasks like things that really take brain power. So like one specifically for me running a video production company, it's editing. When I edit in the morning, because when I get to like 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, I don't want to really edit it at all. I don't want to make creative decisions. Whereas we're filming this right now, it's 4 o'clock. I'd rather do things like this and have conversations. I try to schedule a lot of my meetings in the afternoon. But yeah, the morning I really feel most productive in storyboarding, scripting, video editing, idea planning, that kind of stuff. So honestly, I advise anyone to try to employ that. Try to move your creative tasks to the morning and see if you become more productive.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think I primarily like to crush out those big tasks early in the morning if I do have them. And the other time that I find I'm really productive is if I say take a quick nap. I wake up and I grind, like I go. But I think it's part of psychological, because before I go to take a nap, I'll be like, okay, if I'm going to take a nap, I got to fucking grind after. So it's like, I'm going to nap
after it.
Yeah. So it's like, I have to do this. So it's like a reward. Like the nap's a reward before I do it, which is kind of interesting to think about. I just thought about that for the first time.
And there's times where I've actually, something similar is that if I wake up late, or if I, decide, okay, I'm going to take a longer lunch or something, it almost puts a fire in my ass to work even harder after that certain thing, after lunch, because I'm like, okay, now I got less time. So now I really got to get after it. And then it's like really go time. So I don't know if that's a healthy thing to implement into your time management, but it's definitely something that I've seen.
These are like uncommon practices that could potentially work.
These
do you find
last case
Ontario? Do you find that when you do that, it snowballs into you staying up later that night trying to get stuff done, and then it's just a repeating cycle, or how does that work?
I try to stay away from working late at night. I know some people work really well, like late at night. Like I listen to one podcast, they call it sketch boy hours. And I personally don't, because I feel like it just backs up everything the next day. So when I'm talking like go time, like you run out of time, that means, you know, I only work till like midnight at the latest usually, unless there's a deadline the next day. But I try not to go too deep into it, or you can get a little carried away where it's like, okay, now the next day I'm groggy and I can't get my tasks done in the morning. So that is something to watch out for. It's like, okay, how much do I really want to go into this?
Gotcha. That makes sense. Yeah.
But
I guess it's personal choice.
Late at night when I'm laying in bed, I always get super hit with a ton of motivation. And maybe it's because of the TikToks. I send you a ton of TikToks late at night where it's like, I'm going to conquer the world tomorrow. And then you wake up in the morning and it's like, all right, I'm still going to conquer the world, but I'm just not as motivated to do it.
Maybe you should just wake up at those times or not go to sleep, and you should get up and do it.
I've thought about it before, and I've thought like, why does the algorithm always push these videos to me when I'm laying in bed? Like if I was to wake up, and maybe if I woke up at like 6 a.m. and watched TikToks from like 6 to 7, I'd be hit with some motivational stuff to get me going for the day. But yeah, it always seems to be always the motivational stuff. Like I could change the world is at like 12:30 at night.
I just thought of this. I feel like their algorithm is so advanced that it knows the time and it knows which videos you prefer at that time.
Well, it should change. So it should start giving me those at like when I'm eating
well, you should stop sharing
coffee.
them with me then.
That's true. Every time I send them, they're going to be like, all right, we're going to keep them coming.
Yeah. Start sharing them in the morning when you're having that coffee and start like, there
I'm
you
going
go.
to try to do that actually.
There's a simple fix. I feel like that'll help. I'm not going to lie.
I hope so. I'm going to try it now because I'd love to be hit with that motivation in the morning. Then it's like, let's go. But yeah, a lot of that, I mean, that can be in a motivation episode too, but a lot of time management is like, you just got to know when you got to go. Just got to get after it.
Yeah.
All right. Well, got anything else? We're at about 43 minutes here on my clock.
Yeah. I think that just kind of goes full circle where social media can be a big suck. You got to try to avoid it unless you're doing your research to see for what videos, what's trending. And, what I did is, I think you tried it too. I don't know if you still have it, but having the time limit on your apps.
I do. Yep.
So
I have 2 hours a day for all of them, but a lot of times I go over like I'll get it a lot of times where
you hit your limit.
I hit my limit and it's like, okay, well I still have to schedule all of these posts. You know what I mean? So, I mean, it works a little bit. It's almost like a mental reminder that's like, okay, you've been on this a lot. And one thing that I started to do was just, so I'm not sitting on TikTok for 4 hours a day, I'll just put 15-minute breaks throughout the day. Okay, 15 minutes to just no stress,
mindless.
Go on whatever social media and do whatever you need. And then after that, go back to work.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like that. And I think when I first started doing it, I was on TikTok and Instagram so much less because it's like, I only have an hour to be on these apps. So I'm going to try and save it. And then I wouldn't be like, yeah, exactly. So
it's like leftover food.
Trying to save it as long as possible. So that same thing happened to me too, where I'll hit the time limit and then I'll still need to be scheduling posts out or post something. But the good thing about that, it blocks the app out, and in your mind psychologically, it's like, I'm not allowed to go on it unless I'm going to be posting or scheduling it. So I think blocking the apps out is a good option if you find you're spending way too much time on there.
Yeah, and it's something where if you really want to get rid of it, just start scheduling your stuff on the desktop.
Yeah,
but
old fashioned.
I won't go that far. But we'll see. Maybe I'll get there one day.
One day.
All right. Well, that unless you got anything else, that's about all we got for time management. You got anything else, Tyler? Otherwise, we'll wrap this up and start planning next week's episode.
Not really. Just if anyone has any questions or they want to mail those in, just email them to, what is it? themidnightentrepreneur@gmail.com.
Yep. Shoot those in and we'll hopefully answer some of those. And then, leave some comments. Let us know what you think. If there's any cool ways that you guys manage your time, maybe we can implement that into our lives too, because we're always looking at ways to improve.
Yeah, I'd love that.
That's episode 2 of The Midnight Entrepreneur. If you found value in this content or found this entertaining, share this with your friend or post it on your story. If you really enjoyed the show, we'd love a rating and review on wherever you're listening. Talk to you guys next week for another episode of The Midnight Entrepreneur.